Yeah. Thank you very much. The guy backstage just told me that Oasis played here once, and he got banned from O'Shea's, so I feel like a rock star. All right, 1 second. I'm just going to double check this works, and then the day you become a better writer begins. Hey. Okay. When Richard asked me to talk, I did not think I'd begin my talk with a quote from a book I read when I was 6 years old, but I'm going to. Frog and Toad Are Friends by Arnold Lebel. Then Toad began to bang his head against the wall. "Why are you banging your head against the wall?" asked Frog. "I hope that if I bang my head against the wall hard enough, it will help me to think of a story," said Toad. Now, I've never had the pleasure of grabbing a cup of tea with Toad, but if I did, I'd tell him, "Keep banging your head." If you think writing's hard, it's because you're trying to write well. Most companies aren't. They phone it in. Most stuff's mediocre. Mediocre's safe. Safe gets signed off. So I want to start off today by showing you the problem. So on the 24th of May, 2024, I took to the streets. I got up at 7:45 and hopped on the tube at Barbican, where I began my voyage. Here's the first 4 ads I saw. Jointis told me to live life to the max. XTB had more small print than print. Sainsbury's decided that the best way to show off the relationship they'd grown with farmers was flat, imaginary cardboard cutouts. Vinteria. Vinteria sells online furniture. Sorry, vintage online furniture, I should say. And I thought no Swedish meatballs, no instructions, no divorce was quite brilliant. Rolodexes, they're like your bank account, didn't quite grab me the same way. Here's 4 more that were so unforgettable, I'm not really gonna waste too much time on them. So I got off the train at Farringdon, where I grabbed myself a Metro. Now, when I envisioned this talk, I did not think that I'd be holding a microphone in my right hand, so it'd be easy to flick through the pages. So I'm going to show you here. Despite the billions millions, I think, spent on brand strategy, I could not tell the difference between EE, O2, or Vodafone. It's all just save up to some money from £20 a month. There's not much differentiation. So I hopped off the train at Farringdon, and I was greeted by "Unleash the Power of Pay" by World Pay. I wasn't too intrigued, but for the sake of this talk, I thought I'll type the URL go.freedompay and WorldPay into Google, and I was greeted by this masterpiece. FreedomPay is the world's largest independent gateway and a global leader. Take payments to the next level. That's an £18 billion company, WorldPay and FreedomPay. At this point, I was hungry and slightly pissed off, so I nipped to Tesco's. And I got myself a chocolate bar, dairy milk, and more. Because nothing screams conviction quite like "and more." Selling so well, it's reduced to clear. So I got on the last train home, the 10:52 Southwestern Rail service, and I made the fatal mistake of opening up Twitter. And I'm greeted by Durham University now telling me promising to equip me with the essential skills to excel. Data promised me a 360 view of business. I get home, I airdrop the day's spoils, 107 images, onto my computer. I convert them from HEIC, I don't know what that is, to JPEGs, and I'm greeted with a little bit more word-shaped air. Gets results, blah, blah, blah. You can see it for yourself. So what's going so horribly wrong? I tried to give you reality, not hyperbole. I took 107 pictures in the day, and I remembered one. Now, George Orwell, writing in 1946, summarized the problem much better than I can. So I'm going to read you a sentence or two. As I have tried to show, modern writing at its worst does not consist in picking out words for the sake of their meaning. It consists in gumming together long strips of words which have already been set in order by somebody else. So remember Freedom Pay, take your payments to the next level. You go to Google and you type that into the search bar and you add quotation marks to get a direct match. You'll see that hundreds, genuinely hundreds of other companies are promising to take your payments to the next level. The words have lost all meaning. Or remember Durham University, who promised to equip me with the essential skills to excel. I'd like to ask them, and not sarcastically, genuinely, what do they mean by essential skills? And what do they mean by excel? Do they mean a £40,000 a year starting salary? Do they mean promoted in the first 6 months? But I don't think they know. I think they've just tacked together a ready-made phrase. One would hope if you own a marketing agency, you might have some kind of philosophy about how to do marketing. We do it this way because, but not many of them do. It's just blah, 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 tell stories, blah, 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 award-winning, blah, 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 deliver results. Now I think, well, I was going to say it all looks like this. It's abstract word bingo. You can play this with your own website if you take a picture. You know, go to your website, you get 5 in a row, you've got to take a shot of pickle juice. I think there's 2 big problems here. There's 2 big problems. Most companies have very little to say, and they're quite bad at saying it. So today's talk, 32 minutes left. God, it's a short one. I'm not going to cover the whole time. Today's talk, I'm going to try and hit you with some solutions. We're going to try and have something to say and show you how to maybe perhaps get something to say and say it well. Okay, let's start with part 2, having something to say. Oh, let's go back. The year was 2019. It was summer. Roger Federer had just played Novak Djokovic in a 5-set epic, his last ever Wimbledon final, and missed 2 match points. And I just had my summer romance end with "Let's be friends," and I'm not sure which was more heartbreaking. I look at a bus, and I'm greeted by this. Oh God. The dating app designed to be deleted by Hinge. Now, that's what we see. It's good. It's great copy. It's all we see. I read it. That's all I saw. I wasn't in the copywriting game at that point. What we don't see is Hinge asking, all right, what are we competing against here? Like, how are we different? Why us? What are we? What are we not? Who's our enemy? Who's our movement? This stuff essentially is talking about positioning and storytelling. And that's a huge amount to try and impart upon you. God, that makes me sound like a fucking guru. Definitely not, but that's too much to talk about. So I'm gonna focus on one very specific thing: your enemy today. We need a little bit of audience participation, so I hope you're not too tired. Apparently you're lively, I've been told backstage. Moderate and pick an enemy, position against them hard. So, how do you come up with an enemy? Like, how do you do this? There's 3 types of enemy. Direct competitors, competing approaches, and stuff you stand against. It's kind of hard to remember, so I remember it by A, B, C. A, approaches, competing approaches. B, beliefs, which is the stuff you stand against. And C, competitors. Let's start. Oh, sorry. I meant to say, how do you work out your enemy? Well, the best question to ask is one April Dunford wrote in her book, and I think it's probably the most important question in all of positioning and storytelling. What are we actually competing against? If you want to get into the habit of asking that question a lot. Let's start with competitors. So I'm going to show you the first one. Imagine I've set up a privacy-focused email service like, hey, direct competitor, my enemy might be Google, so I might write, Google reads your email more than you. Now it's your turn. With the person next to you, I want you to have a little 10-second confer, and then we'll get the answer. Imagine you have started a local bookshop. I want an enemy, and I want a direct competitor. 10 seconds, go. Have a little chat. And cut. All right, what do we got? Anyone want to shout out? I'll take that as a no. I'm thinking Amazon. I heard Amazon, I'll go with Amazon. People buy books from people who want to sell books, not colonize the moon. All right, so there we've talked about Google and Amazon. They're direct competitors, but they're also named companies. You can do the same thing as just a status quo company. They don't have to be named. So one more for you. I saw this on social media the other day. Lulu Messervy has launched a new PR company. This got 20 million likes, and I emailed her, and she told me it was all organic, which I was amazed by. But she positions herself quite normally, traditionally, as traditional PR is dead, and then writes an essay on this subject. So that's the status quo. Now your turn. Now I need to remember the example. Okay, I've got it. That was too quick for you to see. You're a baker, and like any good baker, you bake your own bread. That's the best type of bread. I want another direct competitor, not a named company this time. It's 10 seconds, go. Okay. What? Cut. What I'm thinking, what I would think of is you're baking your own bread. What's your competitor? Supermarket bread. Factory-made bread. Oh, God. Back to the start. 1 second. So many slides. Sounded like a good idea at the time, but real bread isn't made in factories, it's baked in bakeries. Traditional positioning. One more for you. Last one. Now we're talking about competing approaches. This is a different way of solving the same problem. So let's say I had a biodegradable dishcloth. I might not want to compete against other dishcloths. I might think, what's another way of solving that problem which everyone uses? And I think paper towels. So replace the paper towels in your life. 51,000 trees are cut down daily to make paper towels. Last idea for you. Last challenge, little challenge. The year is 1960 this time, no longer 2019, and you've been commissioned by Transport for London to come up with some tube ads. What could be a competing approach for a tube ad, an enemy, which you might want to use as an input in your messaging? 10 seconds, last challenge. Think. Three, two, one. Okay. Taxis. It could be walking. Walking is an alternative to the tube. So is cycling. You could have, be a bit graphic to have a cyclist being hit, but you could talk about taxis and how slow they are. Take the tube. The final one's beliefs. I'm going to zip through this. It's slightly harder to think about. Basically, beliefs, you don't pull them out your backside. Traditionally, they come from a direct competitor or a competing approach. So imagine you are Austin. He runs a coding school called Bloom Tech. Competing approach would be computer science degrees. So what could an enemy be? As a belief, it could be the idea that you don't need to get a CS degree to be a good programmer. I'm going to zip through that one. Now, enemy. Why am I banging on about enemy? Because those ads that you saw were quite good. They were perhaps a little bit better than the ones you saw at the beginning. And they all had some kind of conception of like, what are you up against? It's really important. You look at the ad I liked, I got a better picture of it from Google. No Swedish meatballs, no instructions, no divorce, by Vinteria, the online marketplace for vintage furniture. I was told you're bold, so I'm going to ask. I'd like to see a hand go up and tell me the direct competitor, which is an input in this ad, and also the competing approach, how they came up with those words. Is anyone going to take the step?
Is it IKEA?
IKEA would be the competitor, yeah, for the Swedish meatballs. IKEA known for the meatballs. Now the competing approach. One more. What's an alternative to getting your couch from Vinteria? It would be building it yourself. Hence the instructions and the impending divorce when it all goes so horribly wrong. Okay, part 3, saying it well. So much here. So what I decided to do was I was going to give you 3 tests, 3 litmus tests, which I fall back on when I write myself. Here they are. What I do is I examine each line I write, ever so pretentiously, and I ask myself, can I visualize it? Can I falsify it? And can anybody else say this? Can nobody else say this? And if you get 3 yeses, you probably got something good. You get 3 no's, you probably wrote a lot of rubbish. Don't just get a job, change an entire industry. Close your eyes. Can you visualize changing an industry? I don't think you can. Can you falsify that? What falsify means is just able to be proved true or false. Has Dave Trott changed advertising? Like, probably yes, but it's not binary. It's not yes or no. It's subjective. And can anybody else say this? Yeah, I could start a recruitment company today and write, don't just get a job, change an entire industry. Now contrast that with worn by supermodels in London and dads in Ohio from New Balance. Can I visualize this? Yeah, if you close your eyes, you can picture the Ohio dad flipping a barbecue and he's got New Balance on, and you can also picture the London supermodel person striding down the catwalk like this in New Balance. Can anybody else say this? I don't think they can. I think do supermodels wear Adidas? Do Ohio dads wear Prada or Gucci? I don't think they do. Falsifiable, this is true. Can anybody else say this? No, they can't. I want to start with can I visualize this? I'm going to go into all these in slightly more detail. Lisa Cron has got a great quote, which is, if I can't see it, it's not there yet. If you can't visualize it, you won't be able to remember it. Now, I'm going to try and show you that right now. I think this is the last of the participatory activities. 6 words are going to come up on the screen. Leg of lamb, a better way, muscly Irishman, available knowledge, seamless transition, charging pit bull, efficient strategies. 10 seconds with your partner, which ones do you remember? Okay. My guess would be that you've remembered the leg of lamb, the muscly Irishman, and the charging pit bull, the ones you can see. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe someone here's got a photographic memory. What I'm talking about here is the difference between concrete and abstract. So what's concrete? Concrete means real and tangible. It's a word that you can drop on your foot. So I got a leg of lamb here. You can drop that on my foot. A better way. I'm going to try and drop that on my foot. It just floated away. So how do you do this? Like, how do you write concretely? That's essentially what we're talking about here when we talk about writing visually. And I had a technique which I came up with, which originally I called Harry's microscope, but it wasn't sticking. So I changed it to just zoom in. What I do is I get a sheet of paper, and at the top I write, I draw a line on the left-hand side of the sheet. At the top I write abstract, and at the bottom I write concrete. I'll write a word or phrase at the top, and I'll ask myself, what do I actually mean? over and over and over again, and I'll rewrite it over and over and over again until I'm left with a concrete object, something I can drop on my foot. Let me show you how this works. So imagine you came to me and said, I got an app idea. It's an app about regaining fitness. I'd ask you, right, write regain on this sheet of paper. What do you mean by regain? You might say it's about someone who's been sitting on the couch for 6 months. What do you mean by fitness? What type of fitness are you talking about? They might say running. All right, how far? 5 kilometers. Okay. So now we've got from sitting on the couch to running 5K. Shorten that a little bit, you get couch to 5K, which is the world's largest fitness program. And it wasn't invented by Nike or Adidas. A guy called Josh, who was a TV assistant in Boston, no connections, but it spread because someone can visualize going from that couch to running 5K. We all want to do that. Next up, can I falsify this? As I said, this just means able to be proved true or false. Galileo, our old friend Galileo, 1633. The only thing I remembered was the dates. Galileo said that the sun revolves around the moon, I think. No, the earth revolves around the sun. Galileo said the earth revolves around the sun, and he got sentenced to 10 years home imprisonment by the Romans. He wouldn't have got sentenced to 10 years if he said, the earth has a harmonious connection with a radiant celestial body. The Romans got pissed off because it was true or false. When you say something falsifiable, our ears prick up. We sit up a little bit in our seat. It's like someone's putting their head on the chopping block right now. Bit of skin in the game. Now, how do you write falsifiably? Actually, no, before that. You walk into the supermarket and you see two big chicken breasts and you're very hungry. One's juicy, tasty, and high quality, and the other one is organic, Irish, and free range. Which one are you going to pick up? It's a rhetorical question. How do you do this? Well, there's a lot of ways, but the easiest way for today is just to replace adjectives with numbers, with data. This is a tip from Amazon's writing guidebook, I think. So low unsubscribes, 0.4% unsubscribes, loads of protein, 13 grams of protein, save more. How much are we saving? 30%. Finally, can anybody else say this? Can nobody else say this? Jim Durfee's got a quote which is, never write an ad a competitor can sign. You see Absolute, delicious drinks, memorable moments. Jacob's Creek, delicious drinks, memorable moments. Coca-Cola, delicious drinks, memorable moments. I made those up. Who said it originally? We don't know. We don't really care. They're all rubbish. So how can you do this? How can you say something which no one else can? I'm going to start off by reading you a Volkswagen ad about how to do a Volkswagen ad. 6 points. I'm going to give you the first 2. Look at the car. Point 1. Point 2, look harder. Now, in contrast to Volkswagen's writing technique, I'm going to tell you another way of doing this, which I read on Reddit by a now deleted user. It was 0.5 in a long spiel on Reddit, but it stuck with me. Imagine you can't talk, you can only point. So you cover up your mouth like this, and you just point at stuff. And that basically forces you away from the abstract, the adjectives, which we don't like too much. So let me read you again another line of a Volkswagen ad, show them doing this right now. There are 3,389 men at our Wolfsburg factory with only one job, to inspect Volkswagens at each stage of production. 3,000 Volkswagens are produced daily. There are more inspectors than cars. They're just pointing. They're not saying, oh, we're really safe. They're not talking, they're pointing. So on the train up this morning, I came up from Chichester, real far down south, and I invented a coding school, Harry's Coding School. I'm creating coders of the future, and we're 100% online, and we use interactive technology, and we launch careers in up to 9 months. It's great. That's just talk. I'm just talking. There's nothing substantial there. Contrast that to Bloom Tech. Over 4,000 Bloom Tech grads since 2017. 86% job placement rate in 2022. Uma Sitaram went from stay-at-home mum to a software development engineer at Amazon. They're not talking, they're just pointing at stuff. That's what you want to do when you write. Part 4, the closing part, the part least remembered. 4 weddings and a funeral. I feel like I've picked up every single sheet, which is not the one I'm looking for. All right, I think I left them backstage, so we're gonna go. We're gonna rock and roll. 4 weddings and a funeral. Asana spent £345 million on marketing in 2023. What did they do with all that money? Sorry, I should say that's more than the GDP of the Cook Islands. And with that money, they put up a load of billboards that said, move work forward, any team, any project, any goal, a smarter way to work. Their social media ads are way more impactful, fortunately. AI generation plus human intuition equals innovative work. Oh, please play.
Sorry, David, that sounds like management speaking. Sorry, David, that sounds like management speaking.
For any Office fans in the house, drop that in. Their competitors, Smartsheet, Monday, and Jira, are not too much better. They think differentiation is using the words drive, impact, and scale in different combinations. Drive, business, impact.
No, you've got 10 seconds.
I got 10, oh God, I got 10 seconds. Okay, how I'm gonna end today's proceedings in bloody 10 seconds is I'm gonna contrast these companies to Basecamp. They also sell project management software. They don't spend £345 million in advertising every single year. They spend 185 times less than that. They don't lose hundreds of millions of pounds every year. They make tens of millions, and they've got the same number of customers, give or take, to Asana, Monday, Jira. What do they do? Well, instead of talking, instead of putting up ads saying make your work better, they wrote a book which literally millions of people wanted to read called Rework, which has their ideas about how to do project management software. And in the final 5 seconds I've got to conclude today's proceedings, I just ask you, maybe your time's a little bit better spent optimizing strategy, AI. Instead, think about what you're actually talking about, and maybe try and write a book about it, and you might do a little bit better. Thanks very much for listening. I really appreciate it.
That was very, very good.
Thank you. Cheers.
Very, very good. I'm sorry about that, but the band is about to come in. But we will be next door. Harry will still be here. So if there is anything you want to go over again.
Yeah.
Harry, that was amazing. What a great way to finish. Thank you very much. And everybody, thank you very much for coming to that. That was very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
It was very, very good.
It was a bit all over the place.
No,
but
no, no.
It was all right.